Hello students, welcome to our online platform. Myself Engineer PP sir, your physics mentor. So students, today we are going to start our new topic which is photoelectric effect. So we will discuss photoelectric effect, how it is performed and how different different phenomena of photoelectric effect are occurred. So let us start photoelectric effect. So if we talk about introduction of photoelectric effect, then it is very simple. Photoelectric effect, in photoelectric effect we are going to study emission of electrons from any metallic surface. Photo means light, it means when light incidents on any metallic surface, then electrons are emitted from this surface. So this phenomena is photoelectric effect. This phenomena was first discovered by scientist Hertz. Hertz explained concept of photoelectric effect while performing his experiment for production of electromagnetic waves. Laws of photoelectric effect was given by Leonard and Millikan. So scientists Leonard and Millikan explained laws of photoelectric effect, and this phenomena was explained by Einstein based on quantum theory of light. So this is the general introduction. It means we have to pick out some key points here, which are like let's first who discovered. So Hertz discovered. Laws was explained by Millikan and Leonard. Then theoretical explanation was done by scientist Einstein based on his quantum theory. So these are some key facts, some key relations based on photoelectric effect. So it can be understood by this phenomena. Let us say this is any sodium metal or any metal on which light incident in form of radiations, then electrons are emitted from it. Electrons are emitted from this surface. So this concept is known as photoelectric effect. If we talk about energy of each photon, so energy of each photon is E is equal to h nu. E is equal to h nu, or you can say hc upon lambda. So this is the energy of each photon. So let us discuss one by one. Now see experiments. So first one is Hertz experiment. So as I told you earlier that while producing electromagnetic waves, he discovered photoelectric phenomena. So Hertz observed that when UV rays are incident on negative plate of electric discharge tube, then conduction takes place easily in the tube. So this is the concept. It is an evacuated tube, or you can say vacuum tube, in which this is anode and this is cathode, which is negatively charged plate, and this is anode, which is positively charged plate. So according to Hertz, if UV light is incident on cathode, then electrons are emitted and conduction easily takes place in the tube. Then Holwog experiment. Holwog observed that if negatively charged zinc plate, he considered zinc plate. So according to Holwog, when he observed that on negatively charged zinc plate UV light is incident, then its negative charge decreases and it becomes neutral, and after some time it gains positive charge. It means in the effect of light, some negative charged particles are emitted from the metal. So concept was very simple, which was explained by Holwog. Holwog explained, let us say that this is any zinc plate, and he observed that if this zinc plate is negatively charged, if this is negatively charged and UV light is incident on it, then suddenly it becomes neutral. It becomes neutral, and if further UV light is incident on it, then it becomes positively charged. It becomes positively charged. It means what is happening? Electrons are disappearing. Electrons are disappearing. It means in this situation, this zinc plate is emitting electrons. So this phenomena was quite similar to photoelectric effect, which was later explained by Leonard experiment. So Leonard made some corrections in Holwog experiment, and he told that when UV rays are incident on cathode, electrons are ejected. Now Lenard simplified his relation based on his experiment. Now Lenard considered that there is no need of negatively charged zinc plate. If you consider any cathode and UV light is incident on cathode, then electrons are ejected and these electrons are attracted by anode and circuit is completed. So if circuit is completed, then he observed that some amount of current was also flowing through that, which was known as photocurrents. Then properties of photon. Now let us talk about properties of photon. So photons are basically packets of energy. Photons are packets of energy. It means whenever light is emitted from any source, then we can say that light is emitted in form of packets and these packets of energy are known as photon. So it can be explained by quantum theory. Energy radiated from a source is in the form of small packets and these are known as photons. So according to Planck, the energy of photon. Now Planck established a relation of energy for photon. He explained that energy of photon is directly proportional to frequency or inversely proportional to wavelength. So here if we remove this proportional sign, then here comes a constant which is known as Planck's constant. So this H is known as Planck's constant. So this is the relation for energy of photon. Here H is Planck's constant and its value was given as 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule into second. So this was the relation for energy of photon. Similarly, we can also represent it as nu is equal to C upon lambda. So you can see another relation also as Hc upon lambda. Here lambda is wavelength. If we place this energy here, this energy is in form of joule. Now if you have to calculate energy in electron volt, then directly remember the relation that E is equal to 12400 upon lambda. Here lambda will be in angstrom. Lambda should be in angstrom, so energy will be in electron volt. So this is the relation which you can directly keep in mind to solve the numericals. Now see linear momentum of photon. So linear momentum of photon, we know that P is equal to E upon C. Here E is energy of photon, C is speed of light in vacuum and P is momentum of photon. So it is P is equal to E upon C, or you can say E is equal to H nu upon C, or you can say C upon nu H lambda. So it is H upon lambda. So these relation can be remembered directly in numericals. Effective mass. So if we talk about effective mass, then effective mass can be calculated by using Einstein's relation E is equal to mc square. So m is equal to E upon c square. Again E can be written as h nu upon c square, or you can say c upon nu as lambda. So it is h upon lambda c. So this way you can also remember effective mass of photon. It means if we talk about relation of mass with respect to wavelength, so m is inversely proportional to wavelength of incident photon. It means higher the wavelength, lower the mass. So you can compare here red color and violet color. So wavelength of red color is maximum, so its mass, its effective mass will be smaller, and wavelength of violet color is minimum, so its effective mass will be greater. Similarly, intensity of light. So intensity of light is defined as energy radiated by a source in unit time in unit area. In unit time in unit area. So E is energy, A is area and T is time. So I is equal to E upon AT, or you can say E upon T can be written as power. So you can also define it as P upon A. So here this P is power. So if we talk about SI unit of intensity of light, then its SI unit is watt per meter square. watt per meter square, or you can say joule per meter square into second. You can also write down it here. So here P is power. Now see, in other terms, you can also remember that E is energy in T time. So if we consider here that total number of photons are n, total number of photons are n, then total energy is, now see, energy of one photon is h nu. So if there are n photons, then total energy is n h nu. So n h nu, you can also use this relation. Then force exerted on perfectly reflecting surfaces. So if we talk about force exerted, now see, we can explain it in two forms. One is perfectly reflecting surface, and we will talk about another one which is perfectly absorbing. So if surface is perfectly reflecting, it means, let us say that momentum before striking the surface is P1, which is nh upon lambda, n number of photons, and momentum after striking the surface, it is minus nh upon lambda, because direction is reversed. So it is minus nh upon lambda. Now see, if you have to calculate change in momentum, then change in momentum is minus 2 nh upon lambda, P2 minus P1. It can be obtained by P2 minus P1, momentum after striking minus momentum before striking. Similarly, change in momentum of surface. So change in momentum of surface is del P is equal to 2 nh upon lambda. So here we can see force. So force F is equal to del P upon T. Force is del P upon T. So you can see this relation as del P as 2 nh upon lambda. So 2 nh lambda into T. This is the force on perfectly reflecting surface. Now you can use this relation based on your data given in the question. Now force on perfectly absorbing surface. So in case of perfectly absorbing surface, let us say that this was the surface, any radiation incident on it, and it is not reflected. It means those are absorbed by the surface. So in this situation, if I say that momentum of this light or of this photon before striking is P1, and after striking it is absorbed, so its momentum becomes 0. In this situation, if we find out del P, then del P is simply P2 minus P1, or you can say it is nh upon lambda. nh upon lambda. So in this situation, force on this surface is F is equal to del P upon T. So this is the relation which is derived from Newton's second law of motion. We have studied this relation in mechanics. So del P upon T, del P is nh upon lambda, so it is nh upon lambda T. So this is the force on perfectly absorbing surface. Now let us talk about when a beam of light is incident at angle theta on perfectly reflector or perfect reflecting surface. So in this situation, change in momentum is nh 2 nh lambda cos theta, 2 nh lambda cos theta. So in this situation, you can say that your force is F is equal to 2p upon c, and value of p can be written as n into 2h upon lambda cos theta. So this is the relation when it incidents on perfectly reflecting surface with angle theta. Now let us talk about some key points. Rest mass of a photon is 0. So these are properties of photon we are talking about. So rest mass of photon is 0. It means there is no existence of photon at rest. UV light causes photoelectric emission from any metal surface, while visible light causes photo emission from alkali metals. It means UV light emits electrons from any metallic surface. But if we talk about UV light, if we talk about visible light, then visible light emit electrons only from alkali metals. Now let us see how pattern of questions are asked. Calculate energy of photon having lambda is equal to 4000 angstrom in electron volt and in joule. So you have to calculate energy in electron volt as well as in joule. So you can directly use the relation E is equal to 12400 upon lambda in angstrom electron volt. So directly place the value. Lambda is given as 4000 angstrom, so it is 4000 and it's electron volt. Now you can calculate its value, it will be in electron volt, and if you have to convert this value into joules, then directly multiply this value by charge of electron, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. Now see next question. The power of a bulb is 60 milliwatt. So we are given a bulb of power 60 milliwatt and wavelength of light is 6000 angstrom. So we have to calculate number of photons per second emitted. So it is misprint, number of photons per second emitted by the bulb. So use the relation. So power is P is equal to NHC upon lambda. P is equal to NHC upon lambda. We have to calculate here n, small n. Small n is number of photons emitted in per second. So it is P lambda upon Hc. P lambda upon Hc. P is power, which is 60 milliwatt. Lambda is wavelength, which is 6000 angstrom. As Planck's constant, c speed of light. So we can easily calculate by using this relation. Photons per second will be acquired. Now see experimental arrangement to observe photoelectric effect. So as we have discussed earlier that there were few scientists who performed photoelectric effect experiment, but major contribution was of Lenard and Millikan. So we are going to discuss photoelectric effect experiment which was performed by Lenard and Millikan. So we are going to discuss some key facts, some key points about this experiment. So first of all, let us have a look on its circuit diagram. So this was the circuit diagram. Lenard and Millikan considered a cathode and anode in a vacuum tube, and they connected these electrodes with a source and with a galvanometer to identify amount of current or to identify whether current is flowing or not. So they performed that when light is incident on cathode, and cathode is connected with positive terminal, cathode is connected with negative terminal and anode is connected with positive terminal, let us say this way. This was the initial case. So in this situation there is excess of positive charge nearby anode and there is excess of negative charge nearby cathode. So when light of particular frequency incidents on cathode, then electrons are emitted from cathode and these electrons are attracted by anode due to opposite polarity. So these electrons will be attracted by the anode. Hence, due to attraction of these electrons at anode, if circuit is completed, then some amount of current flows here, which is known as photoelectric current. Now they observed that if applied potential at anode, which is positive, is increased, then attraction also increases. Attraction of these electrons also increases, which causes rise in photoelectric current. But then they observed that after applying a particular voltage at anode, there is no momentary attraction by these anode charge particles and current becomes stable. So which is known as saturation current. It can be explained by this graph. So as VAC means voltage applied at anode. If is increased in positive, then after a particular value, its value becomes saturated. It means if we increase voltage further, then also there is no significant change in current, photoelectric current. Then what they did, now they reversed the polarity. They connected cathode with positive terminal and anode with negative terminal. So in this situation they observed, Millikan and Lenard observed that here there is excess of negative charge towards anode and when light incidents on this cathode, then electrons gets free and they move towards anode. But as there is excess of negative charge, as we increase negative charge or as we increase potential, negative potential applied at anode, then repulsion increases and attraction decreases. It means in this situation less electrons are acquired by anode, hence due to less collection of electrons at anode, photoelectric current decreases. So this current starts decreasing, and at a particular negative voltage, applied at anode, this repulsion becomes maximum, and in this situation even electron of maximum kinetic energy cannot reach at anode, and in this situation current becomes zero. So this negative potential applied at anode is known as cut off potential. It is known as cut off potential, or you can say barrier potential. So this way we can see the graph between current and applied potential or applied voltage. Now let us talk about effect of intensity of light. Now see, Lenard and Millikan performed his experiment and they got conclusions, and based on that they found that if intensity is increased, then photoelectric current also increases. It means photoelectric current was directly proportional to intensity of light. So if we plot a graph between intensity and photoelectric current, then it is a straight line passing through origin. Now see, if we plot graph of photoelectric current and applied voltage at anode, then we can see that at different intensities there are different saturation currents. It means if intensity is different, then current is also different. So we can see here, in case of I2 intensity, we can clearly see photoelectric current is large. It means we can say that I2 is greater than I1. Similarly, effect of frequency. So if we talk about effect of frequency, so when frequency of radiations is increased, V0 increases. V0 is barrier potential, but Is is almost unchanged. It is observed that below a certain frequency, photoelectron doesn't come out. So here conclusions were made that for photoelectric emission, there should be at least a certain amount of frequency which is known as cutoff or threshold frequency. So if frequency of radiations incident on the metallic surface is less than threshold frequency, then they observed that there was no emission of electrons. So this was the relation. So if frequency was different, then one thing which you have to remember, which is that photoelectric current is independent of frequency. So we can clearly see from these two diagrams that if we plot a graph between barrier potential and frequency, then this is the graph which is a straight line, and here it is not passing through origin because photoelectric effect is not possible at all the frequencies. It requires at least some amount of frequency which is known as threshold frequency. So this is the graph. If we plot a graph between photoelectric current and applied voltage at anode for two different frequencies, then we can clearly see that at two different frequencies saturation will be same, but their cutoff voltages are different. So nu1 and nu2. So we can clearly see that for nu2 frequency cutoff voltage is high and V0 and nu are proportional to each other. It means nu2 is greater than nu1. So this is the another relation regarding to frequency. Then time lagging. So Lenard and Millikan explained that there is no process of time lagging in incidence of radiation and in emission of electron. It means there is no time lagging. There is no time lag between incident of radiation and emission of electrons. Even intensity is low. Even if intensity is low, then after there is no time lagging between incidence of radiations and emission of electrons. Then if we talk about intensity, then energy of light passing through per unit area per unit time is known as intensity of light. So energy, as we have studied it earlier, that I is equal to E upon AT. Energy radiated through per unit area in per unit time is known as intensity. So intensity is also directly proportional to photons per second or electron per second or current, or we can say proportional to 1 upon d square. So d is here size of aperture. D is size of aperture, or we can say distance between source of light and cathode. So if distance increases, then intensity decreases. So this is the concept of cathode. Now see, let us talk about some golden points. Photoelectric effect is an instantaneous process. As soon as light is incident on the metal, photoelectrons are emitted. Instantaneous process means there is no time lagging. Stopping potential does not depend on distance between cathode and anode. So stopping potential is independent. Stopping potential, or you can say barrier potential, or you can say cutoff potential, is independent of distance between cathode and anode. If we talk about work function, so what is work function? So work function is the minimum amount of energy, that is required to emit an electron from a metallic surface. So work function represented the energy needed to remove the least tightly bound electrons from the surface. It depends only on nature of metal and independent of any other factor. It means work function simply depends on nature of metallic surface. Failure of wave theory. Photoelectric effect. Keep in mind, photoelectric effect was explained by quantum theory. Wave theory was failed to explain photoelectric effect due to these factors. First one was, according to wave theory, when light incident on a surface, energy is distributed continuously over the surface. So that electron has to wait. So in this situation, according to wave theory, they explained that when photons incident on a metallic surface, then energy is uniformly distributed over the surface, and in that situation energy is gained by electrons of that metallic surface, and then that electron will be emitted out. It means this process will take some time, while we know that in case of photoelectric effect there should be no time lagging between radiation incidence and emission of electron. Second one is, when intensity is increased, then more energetic electrons should be emitted. It means stopping potential should be intensity dependent, but we have seen in Lenard and Millikan experiment that there is no dependence of intensity. It means intensity, and there is no relation in intensity and stopping potential. Then next one, according to wave theory, if intensity is sufficient, then electrons can be emitted at any frequency of radiation. While we have seen in quantum theory or in photoelectric effect that electron will be emitted from any metallic surface only when it has at least frequency equal to threshold frequency, then only electrons will be emitted. So these three drawbacks were there, which was able or we can say which were unable to explain photoelectric effect. Then Einstein came and he explained photoelectric effect based on quantum theory. Now see, we are not going to study, or we are not going to read out all the theory. Let us talk about directly the concept, which is, according to Einstein, let us say this is any metallic substance, and when light incidents on this metal, let us say its energy of these incident photons is E is equal to h nu. Then according to Einstein, let us consider that this electron has gained the energy equal to work function. So energy gained by this electron to emit out from this surface is equal to work function, which is phi naught. and then few amount of energy, some amount of energy is required by this electron to emit from this surface, and that energy is in form of kinetic energy. It means, according to Einstein, we can clearly see by this diagram that if photon of energy is equal to h nu incidence on a metallic surface, then some amount of energy is spent in form of work function, and rest amount of energy is spent in form of kinetic energy. So only due to this kinetic energy, this electron will be emitted from this surface. So we can say that K maximum is equal to total energy minus work function. So total energy is E minus phi naught, or we can say that K maximum is equal to h nu minus phi naught is h nu naught. So here nu naught is threshold frequency. Nu naught is threshold frequency. So this is the relation which was explained by Einstein, and we can clearly see that this Einstein's explanation is completely based on energy conservation. It is based on energy conservation. So you no need to memorize this relation. You have to simply keep in mind that it obeys concept of energy conservation, and it can be understood by this diagram, that E is equal to h nu is the energy of radiation incident on metallic surface. Some amount of energy is gained in form of work function, and rest amount of energy is spent in form of kinetic energy. So this is the general relation. Now see, one more relation which is acquired from Lenard's experiment. And what was that? As I told you earlier, that in case of maximum repulsion, stopping potential comes in picture. It means current becomes zero. So in that situation, what happens, that even electron of maximum kinetic energy cannot reach at anode. In that case, we can say that K maximum is equal to potential energy due to stopping potential, EV naught. So this relation can also be written as that EV naught is equal to h nu minus h nu naught, or you can say hc upon lambda minus hc upon lambda naught. So these are different forms of Einstein's equation. Now, so these are the cases which can be concluded out by using that relation. Now let us see another important aspect of this photoelectric effect, which is graph between kinetic energy and frequency. So as we have seen that K maximum is equal to h nu minus h nu naught. So if we plot a graph between frequency and kinetic energy, then we can say, let us say h nu is equal to K maximum plus EV naught, or K maximum plus h nu naught, or we can say K maximum is equal to h nu minus h nu naught. So in this situation, if we plot graph between K maximum and nu, then compare this relation with y is equal to mx minus c. It means we are going to represent maximum kinetic energy at y axis. Here we can see that c is equal to h nu naught. So c becomes equal to h nu naught, and if we compare h nu with mx, then slope of this graph is equal to Planck's constant. So we acquired this graph. Let us say here at y axis it is maximum kinetic energy, and at x axis it is frequency. Then this graph is like this way, a straight line. This graph is a straight line this way, and this is its slope. This is intercept on y axis, which is equal to h nu naught, and its slope is equal to h. Slope m, or you can say tan theta, which is equal to h. So this is the graph between kinetic energy and frequency. Now let us talk about graph between stopping potential and frequency. Again, we know the relation that EV naught is equal to H nu minus H nu naught, or V naught is equal to H upon E into nu minus H upon E nu naught. Again, compare this relation with Y is equal to mx minus c. So same type of graph is obtained again if we plot graph between frequency and stopping potential V naught. Then again same type of graph is obtained, which is again a straight line. This is the slope. Now in this situation, slope and intercept on y axis is changed. So intercept on y axis, c is equal to h nu naught upon e, while slope of this graph m is equal to tan theta, which is equal to h upon e. So here its slope is h upon e, and this is the intercept, which is h nu naught upon e, or you can say phi naught upon e. So this is graph between stopping potential and frequency. Now let us talk about quantum efficiency. So quantum efficiency is what? Number of electrons emitted per second with respect to total number of photons incident per second. So what is quantum efficiency? Quantum efficiency is number of electrons emitted from metallic surface in per second divided by number of photons incident on that metallic surface in per second. So this ratio. If quantum efficiency is x%, then we can say that number of electrons are equal to x upon 100 into number of photons emitted per second. Now let us talk about photoelectric current. So photoelectric current can be given as charge upon time. Charge upon time, or we can say here it is NEE into E. It means 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 into NE. So this is the general relation. Now let us talk about few important points. So Einstein's photoelectric equation is based on conservation of energy. So I have explained it earlier that photoelectric effect is based on energy conservation, and Einstein performed his experiment to give the relation which is based on energy conservation. Similarly, Einstein explained photoelectric effect on the basis of quantum theory. So it can also be seen, we have clearly seen that Einstein considered radiations as photons, and photons are in quantum nature. Then according to Einstein, one photon can eject one electron only, but here the energy of incident photon should greater or equal to work function. It means it is clearly understood from its concept itself that let us say this is any metallic surface, and when light of particular frequency incidents on this metallic surface, then one photon of energy equal to work function can emit one electron only. Condition is its energy should be at least equal to work function. So students, this is the general concept of Einstein's explanation. So that's it for today. In next lecture we are going to discuss about remaining portion of this topic, photoelectric effect. So thank you students for watching the video. We will meet in next video with our remaining topic. Thank you.